This portion of the news brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
The Prime Minister is firing back at opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis, who heavily criticized his administration's intention to lower its contribution to the mega resort Baha Mar for its share of the roadworks project.
Now, Prime Minister Perry Christie defended his government's decision, arguing that it's simply fulfilling its obligation to jealously guard the revenue of the country and ensure that it's spending money wisely and properly.
We have an obligation to protect the revenue of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, not to be careless in how we spend it. And it's not a question of reneging on agreements, and I was absolutely shocked for someone who was in the Ingram government, where they cancelled projects and actually had to pay damages for the cancellation of projects, the straw markets, BDC, whatever it was, right, for him to talk about honouring agreements.
Now, the FNM leader, Dr. Hubert Minnis, said it would be bad business if the government didn't honor its commitment to Baha Mar. However, Mr. Christie assured that he is in constant communication with Baha Mar's CEO, Sarkis Ismerlian, on the issue in order to work through the challenges.
It was being advised by professionals, and the agreement clearly provided we would pay our due share, 50% of that. And it said how we would go about assessing that, and the assessments on the basis of the advice we've received. We have indicated we need to have further discussion. We're not causing any harm or any injustice to Baha Mar. What we're doing is trying to work through the challenges that this issue has posed between us, and we are working through that challenges because I'm writing myself directly to the Mr. Ismailian.
The government was initially expected to pay Baha Mar some $45 million to help cover the cost of the new West Bay Street. But since reviewing the works, government now believes it should pay less. The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, was supposed to relocate from its present location at the Cabinet Office to its new building facility on Gladstone Road since last year. However, Prime Minister Perry Christie told reporters outside Cabinet today that furnishings and traveling scheduled of Director Captain Stephen Russell and other small matters have accounted for the holdup in relocation. The Prime Minister said that he anticipates that staff will be operating out of the building by or before the peak of the hurricane season. It's been 1 week since the aide to the Deputy Prime Minister, Sergeant Andrew Sweeting, was shot in the abdomen and palm while on duty outside of a vehicle at the rear of the Prince Charles Shopping Centre. That was back on June 24th. Deputy Prime Minister Philip Davis told our news team yesterday afternoon that he is recovering well.
He was discharged from the hospital last Thursday evening and is home convalescing. In fact, he's about, to my chagrin, I think he should rest more, but he's up, ready to report to work, and we're just telling him to take it easy. We understand the anxiety to demonstrate that he's well again, but to take it easy, but he is well, and thank God that he was spared the worst of the attack.
The new board of the Rotaract Club of East Nassau held its first meeting last night at the British Colonial Hilton Hotel. Members used the opportunity to learn more about our independence, which is now only 8 days away. The group heard from one of the farmers, or framers that is, of our Constitution, Governor General Sir Arthur Folkes, who reflected on the past and its current results.
One of the most important things to happen in our Bahamas historically was the establishment of the House of Assembly in 1729. And if you stop to think about it, that one act in history by Woodes Rogers back in 1729 has given us the institution around which we have built political stability. And you say, well, that's not remarkable. Yes, it is remarkable. Because you see what has happened with other countries who didn't have that advantage, who didn't have the advantage of having institutions.
Rotaract Club of East Nassau President Taran Mackey believes club members were truly inspired by Sir Arthur's trip down memory lane.
Our club is filled with young leaders, young bankers, lawyers, and up-and-coming entrepreneurs. The people are going to build the nation for the next 40 years. So it was good to hear the story of someone who's actually built the nation for the past 40 years.
The theme of the two-day workshop was strengthening the cultural and creative potential of the handicraft sector in the region. It's a multi-million-dollar industry, which up to this point has not seen its true potential. The UNESCO-sponsored workshop, which brought together a handful of local and regional artisans, opened yesterday morning, but it wasn't quite the turnout expected considering the money to be made in the industry. In fact, Prime Minister Perry Christie expressed concern about the turnout.
I came out only because I want to share with Bahamians. And Bahamian artisans, I thought, would be here in greater numbers. But I'm told all sorts of limitations on who's invited and who's not invited, and so forth and so on, has been the order of the day. Bring only 12 people, and so forth and so on. A meeting of this kind, which is intended to sharpen and really create a sense of excitement, and because of the possibilities of what you can be in this sector, really ought to have the greatest exposure to people who are involved in it.
The Prime Minister viewed the workshop as critically important for the Bahamas and the region. Meantime, Agriculture and Marine Resources Minister V. Alfred Gray addressed intentional or international delegates from around the region.
Those of you who have come from outside the Bahamas, I want you to know we are not traditionally like this. This is not the way we do it. And so don't go away with this the way it seems. You will have a good experience in the Bahamas, but we could do better in our opening conference, and I am disappointed in that regard. So don't take that away with you.
It is expected that by the end of this conference that there will be an increased awareness among policymakers and stakeholders on the extent and viability of the cultural and creative industries with specific references to the handicraft sector.
The Bahamas Youth Ambassadors Program hosted a youth enrichment seminar at the Marina Glinton Center on Blue Hill Road.
Now, the program, supported by the U.S. Embassy and the Bahamas Red Cross Society, attracted scores of young people. It included breakout sessions for girls and boys on self-esteem, a presentation on crime and violence, and an afternoon filled with fun and games. Addressing the enrichment seminar was United States Chargé d'Affaires John Dinkelman and Bahamas Red Cross Director Caroline Turnquest.
The embassy reached out to the Red Cross to partner with it in selecting 4 students and a chaperone for the inaugural Youth Ambassador Program, which took place earlier this year. This is particularly fitting as it is the 40th anniversary that we're celebrating this year of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
The U.S. Embassy, like the Bahamas Red Cross, wants to invest in the youth. We painfully know of the negative things that happen within the communities and the surrounding communities, and indeed within the Bahamas. And so this is such a refreshing morning to see the young people here, the band that's playing, you know, and to see persons getting involved into positive things.
Well, the U.S. Embassy sponsored 4 Bahamian youth ambassadors to travel to Denver, Colorado to attend a youth conference titled Bold Leaders. The high school students shared their experiences.
It was definitely an eye-opener, and it was really a good experience for me personally because it taught me how to develop myself, and once I developed myself, I could go into my country and make a difference.
This program has really helped me with confidence building skills, public speaking, how to talk to my friends.
It teaches me how to speak more open because when I first went there I was shy and didn't talk much, so they broke me out of it, and it was a life-changing experience.
Definitely life-changing, eye-opening, and different. I would say definitely one of the most important things we learned while we were away were using our voice. Because as a young person, sometimes I feel like I'm not old enough or smart enough, or I don't know enough to go out into the world.
Coming up, we've got the latest on the airport on Mayaguana.
And our CAC age group team returns home as champions, and it didn't take long for the celebrations to begin. You're watching The Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news was brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
This is your Raw Fidelity Business News. Good Tuesday evening, Bahamas. I'm Tues Munnings. The shift has occurred. How are you positioned? Is the theme for this year's Association of International Banks and Trust Companies Nassau Conference. It's all set for October 16th at the British Colonial Hilton Hotel. Industry experts and thought leaders will assemble for a series of presentations and panel discussions around how both individuals and companies are adjusting to the new landscape as well as remaining competitive. Now, the Nassau Conference is a premier financial services event dedicated to preparing and enhancing Bahamian professionals for the continued success in the industry. A dynamic and relevant agenda drew more than 200 attendees in the last 2 years and underscores AIBT's ongoing commitment as the founding partner to the continued development and growth of this vital sector. Bahamar, in collaboration with the Bahamas Hotel and Tourism Association, the Ministries of Education and Tourism, hosted the 10th Annual Educators Industry Internship. The workshop, attended by more than 100 teachers and guidance counselors, was part of a tour of the luxury resort's construction site. Now, Bahamar Training and Academy representatives informed attendees about the importance of soft skills training and the effects of positive attitudes in the workplace. The educators also shared information about non-traditional career paths within the hospitality industry, as well as the high standards of today's global travelers, whom are expected to be typical guests at Bahamar once the resort opens. And in international business, U.S. car manufacturers reported their strongest monthly sales growth in June since the recession in 2007. General Motors saw sales rise by 6%, Chrysler was up by 8%, and Ford led the way with a 13% increase. Japanese carmaker Toyota reported the strongest sales of all with a 14% rise. Now, international media reports state that American consumers flock to dealers to replace their aging vehicles. The average age of a car is more than 10 years old, and trucks are more than 11 years old. Well, that's your Royal Fidelity Business News. I'm Tues Munnings.